Two Ways of Seeing a River by Mark Twain, an excerpt from Twain's life on the Mississippi. When I am previewing the title, Two Ways of Seeing a River, I preview the title, I look over the reading. I do know that it's non-fictional. It's about, Samuel Clemens is his real name. Mark Twain is his pen name. About his life on the Mississippi. It's a 600 to 700 word excerpt. But looking at the title, I see that there's two ways of seeing a river. So two ways of looking at one thing. So I realize that that's a compare or contrast method. And then I make my own connections. I am familiar with the author, with Twain, and Huckleberry Finn is one of my boys' favorite books. And my own experiences on a river, so that comes to my mind, whether it's tubing down the Townsend River, and it seems like every time I go in the river it's cold, when I go hiking and things like that, or fishing on the river. But then I'm also asking questions. What are the two ways of seeing a river? So this is really my purpose, or part of my purpose for reading, is trying to figure out what does he mean by two ways of seeing a river, and it creates sort of a mystery for me. Now I'm into the reading part, so I'm focusing on my reading strategies. Now, when I had mastered the language of this water and had come to know every trifling feature that bordered the great river, as familiar as I knew the letters of the alphabet, I had made a valuable acquisition. But I had lost something too. I had lost something which could never be restored to me while I lived. Now, I see something there. First of all, I know it's descriptive writing. His use of words that conjures up images in the mind. Uses sensories all throughout the writing here. But I see, as what I've highlighted, that he has said mastered the language. When you master something, you are the expert. So he masters the language of the river, and he knew it as well as the letters of the alphabet. Well, I can make a connection there because I'm familiar with the alphabet. Learned that at a young age. So we can make a personal connection. And also, topic sentences are usually the first or second sentence of each paragraph. And here, I already know now what I am supposed to read about. It tells me in this paragraph, in these first couple of sentences, he says, I made a valuable acquisition. That means he gained something, but I had lost something too, which can never be restored. So I realized, okay, here's the two ways. Here's what I'm about to read. And I noticed that he has an elegant or eloquent style of writing. So anytime you come across writing that is very academia, very professional, or eloquently, just put it into your own words in your conversation style so that you get a better understanding. So if I was to reword this paragraph, I would say, now that he became an expert or a great steamboat pilot, he gained something, but he lost something too. And again, that's part of the mystery that that makes me want to read on to find out what. All the grace, the beauty, the poetry had gone out of the majestic river. I still keep in mind a certain wonderful sunset which I witnessed when steamboating was new to me. Here you go. Here's the two ways of seeing the river. Something is gone, which he states. The grace is gone, the beauty, the poetry out of the majestic river. It's gone. This was when it was new to him, and he was reflecting upon this time. He remembers this time, but now, in the present, this view of the river is gone. So as he's reflecting, we see a lot of figurative language. We see a lot of colorful imagery, imaginative imagery, creates a lot of sensory images here. He continues, a broad expanse of the river was turned to blood. In the middle distance, the red hue brightened into gold, through which a solitary log came floating, black and conspicuous. In one place, a long slanting mark lay sparkling upon the water. In another, the surface was broken by boiling, tumbling rings that were as many tinted as an opal. Where the ruddy flush was faintest was a smooth spot that was covered with graceful circles and radiating lines ever so delicately traced. The shore on our left was densely wooded, and the somber shadow that fell from this forest was broken in one place by a long, ruffled trail that shone like silver. And high above the forest wall, a clean-stemmed dead tree waved a single leafy bough that glowed like a flame in the unobstructed splendor that was flowing from the sun. Wow, such imagery there. And you can notice all the color words. We've got red hue, gold, tinted as an opal, silver, glowed like a flame. And metaphors and similes are comparison to other things, using like or as, or just saying it is something else, like shone like silver. Here we got river turned to blood, as river is blood, like that. And for some, blood would conjure up in your mind different things, maybe just the color of red, or perhaps, maybe something that's, blood is the life, right? Or life is in the blood, or it could be something scary to somebody else. But anyway, we've got these wonderful images that he's creating with his words. There were graceful curves, reflected images, woody heights, soft distances, and over the whole scene, far and near, the dissolving lights drifted steadily, enriching it every passing moment with new marvels of coloring. I stood like one bewitched. I drank it in a speechless rapture. I'm going to stop right there. Again, it's very descriptive writing. He is making it to where you can visualize everything in this scene. And you get the idea that he is so marveled just by the sight of the river when he's young, when it's new to him. And the tone that he uses has a very emotional tone in there to give a great impact in the writing. He's giving voice to what he's feeling. You can see that he's really absorbing and he's taking it all in. He says, he's drinking it in. He's speechless. As a writer, you are the painter of words, deciding which images to highlight through the details that you use. And he continues, the world was new to me, and I had never seen anything like this at home. But, as I have said, here we have that but, that transition coming. A day came when I began to cease from noting the glories and the charms which the moon and the sun and the twilight wrought upon the river's face. Another day came when I ceased altogether to note them, so he doesn't notice it like this anymore. Then, if that sunset scene had been repeated, I should have looked upon it without rapture, and should have commented upon it inwardly in this fashion. So we're seeing a transition. This sun means that we are going to have wind tomorrow. That floating log, remember when he talked about that? That floating log means that the river is rising, small thanks to it. That slanting mark on the water refers to a bluff reef, which is going to kill somebody's steamboat one of these nights if it keeps on stretching out like that. He's mentioning all the same things, but now in a totally different way. So now this bluff is dangerous, right? Those tumbling boils show a dissolving bar and a changing channel there. So we got this sand bar appearing. The lines and circles in the slick water over yonder are a warning that the troublesome place is showing up dangerously. That silver streak in the shadow of the forest is the break from a new snag, and he has located himself in the very best place he could have found to fish for steamboats. As if this is all dangerous to steamboats, they could wreck, they could sink. That tall, dead tree with a single living branch is not going to last long, and then how is a body ever going to get through this blind place at night without the friendly old landmark? So he makes this transition from being very poetic, descriptive, emotional, idealistic, subjective, mysterious, this mystical, this wonderful river, to very functional, emotionless. There's no emotion here. Pragmatic, very professional, objective, practical. So now it's all about, as you see in that last part, how am I going to get my steamboat safely through this river? No, the romance and the beauty were all gone from the river. All the value any feature of it had for me now was the amount of usefulness it could furnish toward compassing the safe piloting of a steamboat. So now all the river is good for is to, see if it can be useful. He's got to avoid all the dangers of it. So he restating the loss, he's saying the romance, beauty are gone, and it's just now how useful can the river be to him. Since those days, I have pitied doctors from my heart. Okay, he's making a connection from his, in his early experience as a young boy looking at the Mississippi in a mystical way, to now as an adult to a doctor. What does the lovely flush in a beauty's cheek mean to a doctor but a break that ripples above some deadly disease? Are not all her visible charms sown thick with water to him the signs and symbols of hidden decay? Does he ever see her beauty at all, or doesn't he simply view her professionally and comment upon her unwholesome condition all to himself? He's wondering, does the doctor look at the patients? As a person, as the beauty they are, or just flesh and what diseases there, what decay, what's going on. And then he finishes it with a last question about the doctor, but also probably to himself too. And doesn't he sometimes wonder whether he has gained most or lost most by learning his trade? And I'm sure he ponders that. And then at the end of the reading here, you can make a connection to yourself. Have you viewed something in the past to now in the present it being way different? Your view is different. For me, I can do that as being an actress. When I was young and just got started in the industry, I was in awe of the film industry and how it all worked, and going into wardrobe and being on set and working with movie stars and all that wonderful thing. But now, after being in so many movies and being a professional actress for a long time, it's different. That newness is gone. I see it now as a more of a job or a profession, and I view it as, being on set and having to get from one location to another, and the script study and the work involved, and almost as a chore going into wardrobe instead of the newness. So that newness is gone, and it's something that you cannot get back. So what in your life have you viewed something in the past differently to now in the present?